You're listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight? Let me just notice one thing I forgot to fix before we get everything started. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong. There we go. Gavin, that's your name, not Jimmy. That was a different week. Funk. There we go. All right. That's so much better. That's so much better for how it's supposed to look. All right. How we doing, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's see here. Working on getting the social. Good evening, Eric. Good evening, Black and Red. You're going to stay up for the whole thing tonight. Wow. That's mark it on the calendar. Black and Red stayed up with us tonight. Fantastic. Okay, let's see here. Social has gone out on Twitter X. Now heading over to our new Blue Sky deal that we're doing. There we go. Got that. And then the last one, let me head over and ping the Discord community right there. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, welcome. Welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider. We come to you live pretty much every Monday to talk about the previous and upcoming MLS Fantasy round. Of course, unless something crazy goes on in either our lives or the game, that might change, but usually we are. If you are joining us for the first time, please do like and subscribe. It helps so much for the channel and for the awareness and just getting just the fun that is MLS Fantasy out there to the masses. So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all the things that those real professional YouTubers tell you to do all the time equally help us. So we appreciate that. Hey, all here. And so now, all right, there's all the pings out. Let's see here. Is Gene here? I didn't check yet. Is Gene here? Yes, Gene is here. What up? Now that Gene is here.
There you go.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Exactly. That is what it's for. Okay. Well, we are super excited to have Gavin with us tonight, and so we're not going to wait too much longer. Please do share the social if you are so able to. That helps us as well as liking and doing the YouTube things. And without any further ado, we will go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of Round 8 of the 2025 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by weather. It's here. It's there. It's another because MLS. That's what it was. No. Actually, it's brought to you by the amazing MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to keep this project going. Find out more about our Patreon project over at patreon.com/MLSFI. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLS Fantasy Boss, and tonight I'm joined by my partner in fantasy, Ashley Savage. We'd also like to welcome our very special guest, Gavin Harris from MLS Fantasy Picks, or maybe AKA MLS Fantasy Picks. I don't know how you want to go by, Gavin.
Yeah. Gavin's fine.
There we go. We'll just go with Gavin. Well, we are super excited to have you with us tonight. I don't know how many people are aware you've been making some fantasy content on Twitter for a little while, and so wanted to get you on the show. I think you joined our. I know you're in the Pro Rel League, not the Pro Rel League. We may be in that. You're in the Host Invitational this year, right? And then we had you involved with the Insiders Survey last year.
Yep.
But other than that, this is your first time on the show, so
yeah, happy to be here.
Happy for that. So we're going to kick off like we've done with all of our special guests this season. Have a little interview with Gavin about his sort of fantasy pedigree and some of his insights, and then we're going to jump right into a round recap and then move into our early targets for round 8. So let's just do this. So Gavin, for those of you who aren't familiar with you, I just said you're just been involved with us for the last couple of years that I'm aware of. We want to know a little bit about you before we dive in. So how did you get into MLS Fantasy, and what has been your experience playing the game so far?
Yeah. Thanks, Reid. So I started playing MLS Fantasy back in 2016. So I was in college when the union got started as an expansion side. So my buddies and I, we'd go sit in the Sunset Bend section, have a good time at the games. And then after graduating, we wanted to keep following the union, following the league. So I started, MLS Fantasy League with my buddies to stay in touch, all that type of stuff. So yeah, we played for a few years, but as life happens and all that type of stuff, some players fell off. I as well didn't play for a few seasons. Picked back up in around 2021. I started my YouTube channel in 2023. Had my best year yet last year. I was 18th overall, which was great to see. And then yeah, now I'm on MLSFI, which is great. My rank this year isn't so good. I'm in the 500 range, but that's sort of just
Dude,
how it's going, but still having
see
fun.
you there, man.
It's not about that. For me, it's always about the
not
community
about
and getting
that.
people involved. And you've got great
Yes.
content. So I thought it was a couple of years, but I didn't want to just guess. Well, what there are so few of us who do this kind of stuff. So what is it that made you want to start creating content?
Yeah, so when I started playing, I listened to you guys and I feel like you were the main content creators out there. So when I started playing again a few years ago, I just wanted to, start creating content, share my thoughts on the game. Um, yeah, and just hopefully help grow the game in like other platforms because when I first started creating content, it was just short form videos about like my player picks. So I was doing YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikToks. But MLS Fantasy is a lot larger than just player picks. There's all the different strategies and things like that. So last year I started doing more like long form YouTube videos, talking more in depth about like my player recommendations. I did like my best explanations of the switcheroo. That took me a while to get to know when I first started playing the game. So I just try
Yeah.
to, my flavor, like what helped me best understand when I first started playing because it did take me a little bit to understand that strategy. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The channel has grown a lot in the past couple of years. So yeah, thanks everyone, for watching, all the likes, all the comments, and yeah, it's been good.
Awesome. Yeah, the switcheroo definitely kind of what I usually call fantasy like 201 sort of
Yes, yeah.
territory, but always good to revisit each year so to help people really get a hang of it because it's so powerful, so powerful. So people see your lineups every week and you talk about that, but so what is your general approach to building a fantasy lineup for those right here with us now?
Yeah, so I guess each week the way I approach it, I'm one. I know when I listen to the show, some people wait a bit longer till like before a game start to set their lineup. Right when the game unlocks, I like to go in, tinker around, have some fun. But basically, I'll look through matchups. I'll see, who are my locks for the week, who am I definitely starting, who's on the field, in my lineup, and then depending on what I have going on that weekend, am I traveling, am I going to a game? I'm actually sitting and watching games. That'll help me decide like, am I going to actually follow and do switcheroos? Am I doing like an auto type of strategy? And then from there, I'll just sort of fill out the rest of my team, based on matchups. And sometimes that'll go over my price point, and I'll have to, tinker a bit more to make sure everything fits in. So I call that like my first draft. And then, of course, I'll listen to MLSFI, drop in points, see what you guys are talking about, who you're thinking, go back in, make some more changes to my team, call that my final draft, which is what I'll upload to my channel, and then once games start, all hell breaks loose when lineups drop, and I can tinker away everything that I've done when I first set my team. But yeah, that's the approach. Set it up, watch some content, and hope for the best.
Get that. I feel that one so much. Final question that we have. What advice would you give to any new players who are starting in 2025?
Yeah, sort of alluding to, my response earlier, I would say for new players starting, definitely, learn about those MLS fantasy strategies and start to practice them. Because I remember when I first started playing, I would just, fill out my field with the players that I knew just from like a MLS fantasy or MLS side, not even fantasy related, and then fill my bench with just a bunch of 4 million players. And week after week, my score would be so low, I'd be very low on the leaderboards, and I knew there had to be a better way. So yeah, that's when I started listening to MLSFI. I learned about switcheroos. I learned about, raising your team value. Yeah, so that's just, I think, what you need to start doing. Like, player picks are very important. That's part of the game. But actually learning the strategy on how to play the game, those switcheroos and auto roos will really help you raise the rank. So, watch content, see what people are doing, how they're approaching each game week, and then just start to implement those strategies, into your game week by week, and you'll get the hang of it. It took me a while, but you'll just start to, you'll look at matchups for the week. You'll know exactly who you want to look at based on, game times, who's playing, who's performing well, and everything like that. So yeah, that's what I recommend.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And we're so thrilled to have you on the show tonight and to have you be part of the larger MLS fantasy community. So let's just jump right into talking about how we did in this past round 7. It was interesting with watches for if Messi will be here, first look of Sporting Kansas City without Peter Vermees, and of course the weather. So Ashley, when it was all said and done, how did you do?
I did fine. I still have so much money, so that keeps me happy, even though my rank is at an all-time low for myself. But like Reid said, that's not the only reason I play. However, it does make me feel nice inside. So I'm just waiting for that to kick in. Still, I'm just like constantly repeating this every show. I'll get over it at some point. But I had a set it and forget it weekend this weekend, which I think we're all entitled to do because real life. And the thing I regretted most was I missed out on that insanely bad LA Galaxy lineup because I wasn't looking at lineups. I just set a team and had to go do life things. So wasn't looking at lineups. I literally was playing laser tag at an 8th grader's birthday party while that lineup came out and that game started, and I have no regrets. But I missed out on what would have been some shutout points and some Diego Luna because I liked him all week. I just kind of was too wussy to pull the trigger. So what could have been, but some surprises for me, which was very fun, was that Yosef is back briefly. I don't know that I think it's going to stay consistent. The combination of he and Chicho is something I still haven't really wrapped my head around, who's doing what and who will produce for fantasy. But I just love when Josef Martinez gets hat tricks, you guys. It makes me really happy, even when I don't have him. Not on my team, still joyful. I was very surprised, and I think maybe some other people were too, with the 0-0 Philly-Orlando scoreline. I wasn't betting against Philly, but I was betting on Ojeda, and that just didn't happen. Philly has been relatively leaky. Compared to other seasons, not necessarily compared to other teams this year. I think they've been just fine. But I was surprised even at home to see neither team get on the scoreboard. And then Houston beating LAFC. This is a train I've been conducting. I feel confident in saying, which is the two LA teams are not that good right now. That does not mean that they won't be, but from the start of the season, when everyone's talking about the Galaxy and they're still going to be good, I was over here saying, I don't think so. And I don't think we should touch them in fantasy. And same with LAFC. And you know how hard it is for me to turn my back on Denis Bouanga, which I'm not fully committed to doing. We'll touch back to that in picks. But, that's a game ripe for LAFC in the past, and they were not able to do it. So that was a little surprising to me. I was very surprised, not that Joveljic had a brace, but that St. Louis blanked. That was surprising for me. I firmly believe in the coach rebound. And, once you either change a coach or drop a coach, there's an uptick. But that was still, St. Louis are looking a little lost from a fantasy perspective. I haven't picked Hartel up in a while, and I feel decent about that. Bleeding into disappointments and also surprises was San Diego just manhandling the Seattle Sounders. Just absolutely. Obviously, I watched every single minute. I am a masochist like that. I can't turn it off even once it gets to 3. And it was, Seattle is a defense generally in fantasy. We hold pretty high. But the Sounders have been playing in a 3-back, and it is not working for defense. Jackson Reagan is getting caught out every game, and it's not working for offense with all the injuries that they have. There's no transition up or back. And so classic Ashley, I had whatever his name was. He got 10 points. He scored the first goal for San Diego. I had him on my bench, and I felt bad about it. But he was a cheaper midi, and he'd been producing the last couple rounds. And I thought, I'll just be that person to reverse off Tyler. Traverse Goff. He was my second highest pointed player last round with 10 points that I had to sub in. Betting against my own team. But yeah, San Diego looks great. Chucky Lozano getting back healthy, I think, is a big deal. He finally got on the score sheet. That's definitely something to watch. I believe it took a little bit of points off of Dryer. So for those of us who've been really kind of riding that horse, I think it'll be interesting to see now that some other midfield players and Chucky Lozano are coming into form. What does that do to Anders Dryer's fantasy potential? Some disappointments. No Columbus shutout. Who gets scored on by Montreal? And technically they got scored on twice, but one got taken back. So that was very disappointing. SKC shutting out St. Louis and then Houston shutting out LAFC. Those were disappointing to me. And Miami not getting a shutout and getting scored on by Toronto. That was disappointing to me. A lot of places that I looked at for shutouts did not work for me this round. Just some general last takeaways. Everyone's talking about Orellano. All the money for Orellano. He's out of position. He's so productive in the offense, but he's not. I am backing out of position Ahmed for Vancouver. I've flirted with it and I'm ready to fully commit. I like him. I like him offensively. He has actually been producing offensively, and their defense has been shockingly good. Better than, cover your ears, Reid, FC Cincinnati's defense. So that is a.
You think I have beef with that statement?
No. I just, for several rounds, have not been on board with spending the Orellano money and getting the, few bonus points and no actual offensive contributions. I see the games, I see him, I'm watching it, but it's not coming in points. So Ahmed is who I'm going with. It was worth the messy wait. And I think as long as we know he's healthy, I think it's worth the wait. Because God damn it, this guy keeps playing on Sundays. He's playing on Sunday again. I don't know, so you have to make a choice. It was definitely worth it this round. And then my last two little points is, I don't want to say it because I feel like now he'll go off, but Lucho's just not producing with FC Dallas. I know it's early. I know he's got time. He's got a great number 9. But when you watch, it looks like he just doesn't have anybody else on those wings and in the midfield to play with. And yes, he's had a couple decent rounds, but generally he's just not finding the form he just had in Cincinnati. And so that's just kind of something to pay attention to. And then lastly, I'm really excited to see Miguel Almiron get 2 goals in 2 games. I love him. I love that for Atlanta fans. I love that for me. I had him both rounds. And so I think that's, again, it was interesting to me that Latte Lath blanked a 1. But Mickey getting back on the scoreboard was fantastic.
Yeah, I have to say, of course I have no beef with downplaying Cincinnati's defense when I myself said last week they were like one injury away from calling me up into the 100%. Squad. So like I'd pick
you, Reid.
Well, yeah,
you would be my favorite 4.0 defender.
I would absolutely be a 4.0 defender because I am beyond sports old at this point in my life. So for sure, that's where that is. But yeah, I guess it must be in the contract for messing them to always play on Sundays at this point. Gavin, how'd you do? What are your thoughts on this past round?
Yeah, thanks, Reid. So I ended with 69 points for the round. I was honestly okay with that score. So I haven't really been hitting in the switcheroo side of things very much this season. I actually only pulled Kalina off my bench with a 4 because I had Ustar at the end and really couldn't afford anyone else, which kind of worked out, not putting Calendar in. But yeah, I also had some clean sheets hit, which has not happened as well this season. Some forwards. I had McGlynn. Similar to what Ashley said about Acosta, that kind of burned me this week with the 3. I think the biggest thing that let me down, though, was so I pivoted from Evander to McGlynn because Evander wasn't starting, but Evander was my captain. So then I captained Rusnak because, best player in the game, all that fun stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I think he had an injury at halftime. So I hope he
Did
gets
he?
well soon. Did he? I don't know. I woke
Yeah,
up that
they
morning
said
and I
he
was like,
had.
a two?
Yeah.
What? But yeah, that was the only explanation for that too. I'm sure was
Yeah.
getting subbed off at the
Mhm.
half. So yeah, I mean, with that happening, I was happy with my score for the week. I'd say surprises just in general from a fantasy perspective. I am quite impressed just with Vancouver, how they're, showing up just from MLS side, fantasy side, with, CONCACAF going on. I feel like we've seen teams struggle from a fantasy spot side, especially when they're in those tournaments, having to rotate so much. But we can still pick players, like Tate Johnson and Ahmed and Brian White, even that are still going to perform um, from a fantasy side of things. So I would continue to look at Vancouver, even though they are, in the tournament. So they're definitely someone I'm continuing to look at. Similar to what we talked about before, I'd say biggest disappointment for me on the week was that Philly Orlando game. I was expecting goals both sides. Luckily, I had Gazdag and Baribo on my bench because as a Philly fan, I always know there's that chance of just nothing from
Yeah.
them. Used to those Gazdag type of games. So yeah, they were on the bench for me. Bit upsetting. General takeaways, I would say, as we were talking about before as well, San Diego definitely look legit from a fantasy side. It's always fun to see these expansion sides that we don't know much about just sort of pop off and we start to select those players. But yeah, as Ashley was saying, with Lozano back, it's really going to be hard to tell if this is going to be a too many mouths to feed situation. We've liked Dreyer a lot. Lozano's back. Is that going to take away from him? We've also got these budget guys performing well. So yeah, we'll have to see if there's any trends from a fantasy standpoint to see who can be our go-to San Diego guy to look at. And then our teams that we target, I know we've always liked to look at Montreal, but I feel like, the Galaxy and DC United are definitely teams we want to look at uh, players playing against. So we've got the Dynamo and Cincinnati playing both of those teams this week. So I feel like those would be some good players to look at from those teams. And from a defensive side, it did work out for me this week going with those cheaper defenders. I had Flores and Johnson, 5.5 and 6.0 with those clean sheets. So I would continue to look at those, budget guys on a matchup that you like for a clean sheet, maybe 1 to 2 premiums. I had Shaberko last week, which didn't look out. Probably be looking at Orjano this week. Oh, but yeah, I just really want to free up some cash for those midfield and forward spots. Yeah, that wraps it up for me, Reid.
Excellent. Yeah, so I had a good round. I finished on 89 points. I won all of my head-to-heads.
Damn, Reid.
But thank you. But
Nice.
the weather is what really threw me for the loop. With where I live in this Ohio Valley, Kentucky, Ohio area, when the Cincinnati game and everything was coming up, people were like, "What's the weather like?" And I was sending messages in our Discord like, "Here is from my phone the picture of the weather right now at kickoff." So I was a little bit worried about the Cincinnati game. Plus, I sent out this message early on. I know I saw people on Twitter who were like, "I didn't know Evander wasn't in the starting." And to be fair, I did not know, but I did share out that message of Evander and Kubo and Robinson all likely not going to be available, having issues. So I was already ready to be like, I don't think he's going to be there. And then when I saw the weather coming through, I was like, you know what? I'm getting off of my Cincinnati picks. And so I took Evander off. I did bring in Gazdag because I had that same thought of like, this game, I can see goals both ways. So I did bring in Gazdag for that, which technically 4 more than 0. So there we go.
Yeah.
Right. I did keep
The
Orjano.
classic Gazdag score.
I did keep Orjano because I thought, let's see, I'm going to put him on my bench. I'm going to bookmark that money because if this game does start with Evander being gone, with Kubo being gone, he's definitely going to be a focal point. He might be a good bench play. Let's see what happens. And then I moved away from my Schulte Columbus defender matchup. And I brought in Austin because I was already on the bubble of like going with Austin, who have like tied for the second best home defense record in the league right now. Then the game started, the weather cleared, and I was like, okay, Evander is not in. Don't want that. Orshano is still on my bench. Let's bring the Columbus guys back. So missed out those.
Reid.
Got the bottom of the barrel there. Had Charlotte as my keeperoo that I did not activate because I was like 4 points. I can get more out of that. No, 4 points would have been fantastic right there. Otherwise, my midfield hit Had a great time with that. Espinoza and McGlynn, two people I was quickly into my team last week. I know some people weren't on for San Jose, but I liked that matchup. And so I had Espinoza and Arango. Did not get J-Mart, but he just popped off. First big game of the season, though, with that. Had Dreyer, and then I went with the Messi captain. So I went with that late. Figured he would play based on what I was seeing before, and that played out for me. Also, surprises that you already mentioned, SKC grabbing that win and Joveljic bagging a brace. They saw some performances from both of their DPs. So this for me's team, I think merits a relook, but with caution. And it may not be like, let's start betting on Sporting Kansas City, but there may be some budget options, maybe some bench plays in the right situation you could consider. But let's just see what this team without. I like the way Doyle put it in his article of Vermees being such a large presence. With him removed, more people can fill in and step up and start adding some of their own self to it. So maybe this is really the team kind of coalescing around itself. And so, and then the last thing that surprised me was how I did not think Cincinnati was going to end the way that they did. I thought New England was definitely going to get goals, and I was very worried, especially with Nwobodo not being there, but it ended up doing really well. And so Cincinnati performed better than I expected. New England was definitely part of that equation, though. Still yet to score a field goal for New England. Some of the chemistry is probably getting back there with them, but it's still just not firing on all cylinders for them. So definitely good to see that going forward with fantasy. Disappointments, I already mentioned Columbus right there. And let me talk about Alba as well. Has just not been doing it. I keep coming back to him just like he's got to do it. He's got to do it. No, he's just not getting it done.
Yeah.
So that was he's not even getting the bonus points. That's I could almost overlook.
And they're
it
not
if I
getting
was seeing,
shutouts.
exactly. No shutouts, no bonus points, no assists, and so I'm moving away from Alba. That was definitely a big disappointment for me. Big fantasy takeaway, and we mentioned McGlynn. He's just killing the bonus points right there, and got the big points this week. Forsberg, I know I saw people talk about him last week, and he is just kind of still on my worry list. Just not really impressed what's going on with Red Bulls. Not really impressed. He wasn't even involved in the goals they did get this week, and so he's just one that I've just not really been wanting to pick up. Like I think I added him at one point during the week, and I said, "Nah, Reid, you don't like him," and so I took him off. But
you don't like.
I know you don't like him. Take him off.
Reid, do you know what the situation is? As for like PKs, I saw it was he took one, then Choupo-Moting took one. It was like back and forth. So like, what's even? I don't even know what the deal is for that. So it's hard to like say, oh, he's on PKs, but
yes, is he 50% of the time?
Yeah,
like that's ridiculous.
It's just
too
one of those extra.
unpredictable.
Exactly. It's just one of the other things just to tally up there. Like I just don't want him. I don't like him. Like I put his name on a sticky note, put it in my computer, be like, no, don't do it. But then the last one is. I know we mentioned it kind of tongue-in-cheek at the beginning of the show, but don't forget about the weather. It 100% does impact the games, impacts your selections, impacts the availability. We have a separate channel in the Discord dedicated to weather because of this. So it is for real and does have an impact. So don't forget to consider that when it is necessary with those teams. So it's why Montreal has been playing on the road this whole time, because it's so freaking cold up there. They gotta get out there, which they're home this week, so congrats for them. So but that was it. Some great takeaways. Nice to see some of the stuff coming together as we wanted to. Let's go to chat real quick to see if there's anything else that people are adding. Some absolutely fantastic scores I see coming through chats in the 90s. Meg is 7th overall, so we're going to get her on the show pretty soon. So Ashley will be happy to hear that as well. That's right. We'll make sure you're here, Ashley. I know you got a vacation coming up. So
Can't be next week. It's gonna be after that.
it will not be next week. No, we'll make sure we're
Oh, Meg, I'm so proud of you.
Meg will be there. Black and Red did point out that he beat you in your head-to-head. So
Oh, of course he did. Absolutely. Because he got RSL shutouts.
there we go. That was
And
up
he
there.
did better. And he did better. Black and Red's the best.
But yeah, nothing else in there. So very good, but awesome. So that's a great takeaway. We're going to move on to the players that we are targeting going into round 8 and some housekeeping right after this.
I think he destroyed me, honestly.
You can load it up and see. I guess I could too. But
It was a double digit beatdown. Once I saw he had RSL after that Arsenal game, I was like, it's over. Also, when the game was locked, I thought, oh well, surely. I think I only checked twice on Saturday, and I was like, well, the game's locked. My midfielders must have done better, and my midfielders were Ojeda and Forsberg and Rusnak.
yeah.
They did not do better.
So I'll tell you,
like
Ashley,
4-2-2.
you are not the only one who's a glutton for punishment. Lady Boss is also one who is like, we don't leave. We stay and we watch the game. So like when we're at a game and people get up and start leaving, she's like, where are they going? No, those are fans.
No,
They're fans.
I won't do that. I'm a Manchester United fan, Reid. I just love to get destroyed emotionally. It is my happy place.
Talk about, let's see here. Right there. Right there.
What you got over there?
See that little cock
Yeah, I
on
see it.
top of that ball? Tottenham. Tottenham.
Oh, you get it better than anybody. Oh, poor guy.
Flirting with the bottom of the table.
I forget that you're Spursy. Oh, what a bummer.
There we go. All right. Sorry with that. You don't have any scarves, Gavin. We can't know what random teams you're.
I know.
Yeah,
my scarf game is weak right now, so I gotta. I said that I'm dropping
That's okay.
points as well. I'm
You
not
have
used to the
another
Flores
one.
game, so
Yeah.
yeah, that too. I think I have 3 scarves maybe, but not enough
Okay.
to fill a wall yet. So
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, it's
I
like
don't
a
rival
noise
Reid, and
cancel.
I never will. But
I'll give it a tour sometime. I'll get the box out and go through that and see if
Yeah.
people can help me complete the collection. All right.
Spencer
So
has one from every Sounders season, but I won't do that because people find it obnoxious.
that's impressive.
It's a good team to hate.
I got the winners right here. All the winners.
I
All right.
love
Let's
it.
see here. Okay. So we've got the social coming out now for the second segment. Again, please do like and retweet those. It helps so much. And got that over here. 93-72. Yeah, that's a good win. A solid win. Let's see here. Portland Liverpool fan. I mean, you can't really complain, Ray.
Yeah. What? Oh, I'm sorry. What do you mean? That one's fine. That's a good combo. I mean, I hate both of the teams that you like aggressively. I don't hate Liverpool.
I guess that's what he's saying. He says you're unfortunately his enemy, in like everything.
Yeah, 100%. Like we don't have a choice. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Here we go. Hello and welcome back. We're going to talk about our player picks going into round 8. But first, a quick little preview for some housekeeping. Games start on Saturday, April 12th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Toronto versus Minnesota. As far as your auto-roo planning goes, or your Aru planning in general, this is the usual Apple TV lineup that we have, maybe slightly modified. We got a 2:30 and a 2:45 game on Saturday, so shortly after Toronto, Minnesota, we have Atlanta and New England kicking off. But then everything's there, 4:30, 7:30s, 8:30s, a 9:30, and some 10:30. So the nice spread, you can easily get your Aru set out for there. And if you don't like any of the teams that are on Saturday, on Sunday, you have Sporting Kansas City versus Portland. You have Chicago versus Inter Miami. And you have St. Louis versus Columbus Crew wrapping everything up. So, hey, at least Messi doesn't get the last game of the round this week. There's
Nope.
always that. So, yeah, consider all that when you're going. As far as this is not a double game week, this is not a bye round, so everybody is here. But as we have said last time, this is CONCACAF Champions Cup time. So teams playing at home this week, we have Miami. Teams on the road, we have LAFC. That's domestically, though. So LA is going to Miami. Bit of a haul, but they're going down there for their game. We do have LA Galaxy and Vancouver, who are also away teams internationally. So they will be flying out of the country for their game. So keep that in mind when you are looking at their picks when they are playing, to see what kind of recovery they will have. Other than that, forgot to mention last week, we're in the start of the second quarter qualifier for the Fantasy Champions League. So if you did not end up in the top 50 during the first quarter of the game, you still have this next chunk that's going on right now where you can qualify to get into the super ultra special Fantasy Champions League at the end. This lasts from week 7 through week 12. So it started last week. Sorry, forgot to give the little reminder then. But Fantasy week 7 through 12, if you've seen in your league section, it is a new qualifier league that has joined as an official league, and everyone starts building their points up from scratch. It doesn't bring anything over. You still earn your points as you do as normal, but it just, whatever you score between weeks 7 and 12 that's what it adds together to have you in your ranking, and the top 50 move on to the final 200 who go into the Fantasy Champions League at the end of the season. So if you are just starting or you're still looking at what you can play for, Fantasy Champions League, that is absolutely what you can still play for. Other than that, be sure to head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord channel, go to the tools section, look at our mega reference. You can keep an eye on all these teams who have their call-ups, teams who are on international, teams who are playing in CCC. You can look for safe scrubs, all kinds of players like that, so you can know how to manage your teams and get the most out of your MLS fantasy experience. So, all right, with that taken, I tried to clap and it didn't, so there we go. There's the clap that I was going for. Don't know why I did not actually clap. Let's start talking about the players who we are targeting going into round 8 now that we've got that bit of the housekeeping taken care of. Gavin, starting with keepers and defenders, who do you like?
Yeah, thanks, Reid. So for keepers, didn't really think I would say this this season, but when matchups align, I currently have Guzan from Atlanta on the front end of Keeperoo. Haven't been a huge fan of Atlanta defense, but who are they playing? They've got New England, so it's a good matchup. He's only 5.6. I like him to Takaoka. And if you're not liking those guys, I also do like either like a St. Clair or a Takaoka or Willis to a Schulte, as St. Louis have been struggling on the scoring front. From a defender standpoint, I mentioned earlier, I do like Orejano this week, less because of the clean sheet chance, as I do see DC scoring, as Benteke's been looking very good. Orejano is that, attacking upside. As I said with Takaoka, I like some Vancouver defenders, Veselinovic and Blackman for your, expensive guys, and then Tate Johnson if he plays. You can save some money there. Some sort of flyer picks on my channel. I like to call out some budget players if you need to sort of fit someone in. We talked about it on the Drop in Point show last week, but another out of position defender is Jake Davis on Sporting Kansas City, and he's only 6.2. So is this going to be a trend that SKC continues to play well, get clean sheets? Who knows? But could be a fun shout. And another one as well, another cheap defender I like is Awadesu from Houston. He's only 5.8, and they're playing the Galaxy, who we like to target, especially with their CONCACAF this week. So I'm expecting, a rotated Galaxy, and I feel like these, budget defenders can be some fun shouts.
Ashley, who are you looking at?
That's all I got.
I am just copying Gavin, basically, which is what I like to do every week with the hosts, co-host. I also looked at this round and thought, Brad Guzan, is this your week? Like, is this the week? Because there's been a couple of rounds I've wanted to take him and thought, well, their defense isn't good. And by not good, I mean hurt, right? Like they have not had their true starting defenders for most of the season, and then a couple came in and whatever. So I think I'm gonna roll with it, especially because if Gavin said it made me feel like I'm not crazy. So I just needed someone to confirm for me that wasn't insane, and so that's where I'm rolling now. But really looking at the timing, I always really value timing in my keeperoos, and this one just lines up for me better than the other ones. I don't want to touch some of the other early games. So, and then I'm most likely gonna bleed into Takioka as well. I think you could also go Pass. I am not here for the Sounders road offense that generally also doesn't do well in the state of Texas. So I think that's another keeper you could bleed into. And then I think I might, which means everybody should fade, but I think I might do the double with Ahmed and what's his name? Tate Johnson? It's Tate, right? Bless his baby heart. Doesn't he just look like a scrub? He's playing not like one, but his picture, he looks like you're gonna put him in for your 4.0 scrub in the game. I am not a triple stacker, so I wouldn't go Takioka if that's what I end up doing. But I like I said, I really like Ahmed out of position. Tate Johnson has been price rising. If we're still talking about price rising, he's been doing it. Because I think, and I could be wrong, I think he was a 4.0 scrub, maybe a 4.5 when he first started playing. He wasn't playing the first couple rounds, and he was a 4, right? Yeah. So see, that's why his cute little face looks like that. I like Freeman for Orlando. And then I am flirting so much with FC Dallas, SKC Houston. Who do I want to throw in where? Do I not want to double on Vancouver and I'll pull from someplace else? Like I said, doubling and stacking is not usually in my process. So I'll probably spread it out a little bit. I like the Jake Davis. That's definitely who I think I would look at in that SKC defense. No one jumps out at me for FC Dallas. Not the most consistent defense in the league right now. But like I said, I'm for the sake of the game, and I get a lot of flack for this in Discord, but I am kind of targeting the Sounders with another road game, possibly another injury, and just an offense that is not producing. So, and like I said, generally in the state of Texas, not the most comfortable for them.
I have to agree with a lot of what you guys are saying as well. I have seen the Guzan and the Takaoka a lot. I've seen that a lot, but I've also seen Poolscamp worked in there as well. And I've seen people going with a Sporting Kansas City triple stack in the back, which is an interesting reaction. I can't help but feel like it's a knee-jerk reaction going there, especially with, I mean, I know things are different there, and I didn't watch that game. Maybe I need to go back and see if there was something that I missed. But as far as home chances to succeed, Sporting Kansas City is near the bottom. They give up almost 2 goals per game so far at home. Portland, even though that we've kind of bet against them at times, and they just had that clean sheet, double clean sheet against them last week. Portland is in the middle of the pack. They're getting about a goal a game on the road. So I can see why that may seem like, hey, maybe this is going to be it. This is not a strong road team coming into the new rebound Sporting Kansas City. That seems a bit too rich for me. I definitely like the logic of New England's not scored in the run of play as playing into Guzan. I can see looking at an Orlando play here just because Red Bull have not looked fantastic. They've gone back to their more traditional 2-2-2-2 format, like the way they have historically been, but not super convinced by Red Bull. But I've been wary about an Orlando defense as well. So I can see that. Maybe on the road you could go with Charlotte. I know we were just talking about Montreal. This is their first home game, so there's a lot unknown there for Montreal, how they're going to be playing at home. But as far as an away chance to concede, I mean, Charlotte's one of the better teams that you could go with for a road team. So if you wanted to roll the dice with that, I can definitely see it. Takaoka makes a lot of sense with just how Vancouver's being, even though longtime listeners of the show, you all know how I feel about Vancouver and their defense. But quick aside, if we have anybody who's up in the press box with Vancouver, you've got to make something happen for us and like go in there and talk to Tate Johnson and be like, what do you think your fantasy score is? Or his fantasy prices.
All I want.
And just do that. Let's just start asking players how they think they compare to each other. Whose score do you think is higher, Ahmed or Tate? Which one of you guys? Let's just see. Let's make that a bit that comes back. Sorry, back to the fantasy. I definitely see this. And I was going to lean on you all night tonight, Ashley, to start talking about this Dallas Sounders situation with whatever is going on in Sounders. So if you feel like that might be some potential to bet against, then I'm not going to argue maybe going with Dallas.
They're going to turn it around, right? The roster's too good. The coaching's consistent. But I don't think you turn it around away at FC Dallas. I think you can still target the Sounders for this round.
The only thing I'll say, last thing I'll say about keepers is if you're going to go with Vancouver in a keeper room. So if you're just going to go with a single keeper and you want to go with Vancouver, I totally get it. If you're going to go with Vancouver in the keeper room, you have to look at one of those 3 early games with Toronto, Atlanta, and Orlando. Not putting Toronto at all in that Minnesota game. I think Atlanta is the better front end of that compared to Orlando, but I get those 2 games. I totally get those 2 games if that's where your mind is thinking. Otherwise, I don't like the 10:30 games. LA and Houston, LA and San Jose. You might be better off betting on the road teams, but that's always risky. But both of those teams have CCC games. LAFC though is at least domestic. And if you're not looking at those 10:30 games, you're looking at Sunday, and all of those games going to potentially scream goals on both sides. To me, 1-1 is just not great matchups. It's just a toss up. So I totally get it, but I could also see a Takaoka single keeper if you just wanted to run with that. As far as defense, as you know, I like matching up. I like out of position players. We've talked a bunch about those people already. Ashley mentioned the Dallas and Seattle matchup, so that covers pretty much all that I was looking at. But yeah, I like the out of positions, and I like the cheap because that's what's still been working so far. Just to get a couple of those guys.
God, we haven't talked about center backs all year, have we? We just talked about out of position and cheap.
Well, that's what it's wingbacks, and I mean the out of position because they're getting up there. The wingbacks is a fall. Well, it's like when Ashley messaged last week talking about the Cincinnati, and I was saying that, which I forgot, I should have mentioned. Engel played out of his mind in that game, so look fantastic.
He's a good cheap fly.
But Orshano is going to get up there in the mix. If you were falling back on Cincinnati, you want the wings. Engel or Yedlin are going to be there. If you just need a cheap, then you can just go with a center back. And that's what you're looking at with a lot of them. The big center backs can get some bonus points. They can be goal threats, and that's going to help. But otherwise, it's been the season of the wingbacks for sure, with just their key pass potential and just offensive threat. All right, let's move on to talking about my favorite, the midfield. Ashley, who do you got?
Yep, I definitely have some bubble players, but midfield came kind of quick to me. I'm running that hot hand, heating up, as I used to say it back in the day, Miggy. Keeping him in the team. And then I have had a very tumultuous relationship with Hani Mukhtar this season.
For
I'm
sure.
gonna give it another go. I'm getting back on that Jack McGlynn train because I only hopped off of it for weather and regretted every second of it. I still love me some Ojeda. I like him. I like the matchup. I like the timing. And then speaking of timing, I don't know why, you guys, but I am on the Bernadette. Toronto looked...
Okay.
I know. Hear me out. Toronto looked decent against... Yes, Miami played midweek, but that was a full strength Miami team, and it was in Miami, and Toronto hasn't looked decent this season. I think Bernadette was on team of the week. I think he pulled a 10 or something. At home, early game, Minnesota, not defensive prowess by any means, right? Offensively great, but doing well, but I think it's a decent shot. He's my first one to change, to be clear. But I don't know. I liked the timing. I liked being able to keep him on my bench. He's not super expensive because he hasn't been doing well. He and Insigne looked maybe not like the of old, but they looked a lot better this past weekend. So yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Bernadeschi's stock's only gone up since Insigne's been back, and I don't know if you guys saw the goal, but like just that footwork of actually finishing that was just outstanding. So
I did.
Still got
That's
it.
why. Yeah.
He still got it. Yeah.
All right, Gavin, who are you looking at?
Yeah, a lot of the same as Ashley. So Ojeda, a lock for me. I know he disappointed some of us last week, but still a lock. Also ready to be hurt again by Mukhtar. Going to give him another try. I've also been playing him the exact wrong weeks. So yeah, give him another go. I also like McGlynn. He's in the lineup. Definitely a lock for me. It was funny because I picked up Espinoza when he, I think, got 2 points for the week and sort of broke my heart. So then last week I faded him. I talked about this on the Drop in Point show last week because Brian was going to pick him up, and I said best of luck. And he actually absolutely popped off. Great matchup against DC.
Yep.
Good to see. So I'm going to give him another shout this week. I like the matchup against LAFC as I'm expecting them to be rotated. And then like a flyer kind of budget pick for me this week. I was watching some of the New York City game last week against Minnesota, and I think his name's Perea. I'm not sure if I'm not pronouncing that right, but it looks like he's sort of on the wing, attacking midfield type of role, and I believe he's on corner kicks. Just a lot of good key passes and I think assists in the past few games. So I love to see that consistent points. And playing
Yeah.
Toronto, not the best defense.
No,
Yeah, and he's only 7.4, so a bench flyer. It frees you up some budget, a bit cheaper than some of those other guys we were chatting about. So it could be a fun look.
Yeah, these are good options. So for me, let's see here. The quick ads when I was making my first draft of the team, Almiron, McGlynn, and Ojeda. So you guys have already talked about McGlynn. You've talked about Ojeda. Yeah, I agree. Much better lineup. I like Almiron. He's had a good couple of games, getting back into the groove, and I like the chances against New England. The thing that I couldn't really gauge from watching the Cincinnati game, where they were missing some of their primary offensive, like Evander being gone, Kubo being gone, just neutered some of that, something to really see what New England was going to stand up to with offense. And I feel like for this round, Almiron, Latte Late, they're going to give a better go at that. So I like that for Almiron. He was a quick add to my team right there. Going down from there, some of the other guys I'm still rolling around in my head, we've already talked about. Espinosa, they're on the road, but to CONCACAF LAFC, who have kind of struggled at times. So that's promising. They're on a good little run of form right there. I agree with Mukhtar. He's on some good form. A goal or an assist in each of the 3 out of his last 4 games. His key pass numbers could be better, in my opinion. His shot numbers could be better, in my opinion. Those have kind of dipped off from the beginning of the season. That's kind of weird. Like his bonus point production has dipped down from the beginning of the season, but his actual offensive results have ticked up from that. So they looked really great when the game I watched a couple of weeks ago against Cincinnati with how they were moving the ball. They did the same thing this past week. Just really pretty soccer, and so chances paid off for them. So I could see going with Mukhtar this week at home to RSL. It's not going to be the same kind of lineup that they faced against LA Galaxy. So I think there's a good shot for Mukhtar. Don't know if he's going to be in my team, but I definitely think he's one worth having on the list right there. Let's see, what did I have here? Dreyer is on some good form. You guys talked about him earlier, though, with the other players coming back. What's that impact going to be? But still look for some production potentially there. Beal, another one there with Charlotte. I think that he's been doing some really good work. Montreal at home, but they've been one that we bet against, and I think he's a good offensive player you could get to slot into your midfield right there. After that, I have this section for players who I still have question marks about. Rusnak is one. Did he pick up an injury? Didn't he pick up an injury? There's been some struggles on the road at times. He's gone crazy with production, though, when he's ready. So would this be a time? Ashley seems to not be on it, so that may be good enough for me right there. But that's what I got questions right there. I also have questions about Lucho, which I think Ashley already equally spoke well to right there. And same thing with Evander. Evander watch. He wasn't in the lineup. I want to see if he's going to be there. If he is, I do like Evander. I don't rate DC's defense, and so while Cincinnati may be struggling, I think this is goals both ways. And finally, I think the last player I'm going to mention, even though I did mention Dreyer on San Diego, I think we have to talk about Mihailovic over there with Colorado. He has some great skills. We've seen him pop off a couple of times this year, and Colorado is flirting with scoring, averaging about 2 goals per game at home. So they're definitely a team that can score at home. San Diego gives up about a goal per game on the road. That's just averages with what they've played so far. Still kind of early in the season to really get some good numbers there, but it is a defense that can be scored on, and Colorado's home has proven to be a time when they can score. And a lot of that's the altitude for what people are used to. So I think Jordy right there is definitely one worth putting on your lineup there. Other than that, I was going to say that's all I have, but I've just scrolled through one last time. We were mentioning how Miami is not keeping clean sheets. Chicago's got a couple of midfielders right there. You could also take a look at to potentially maybe
Good
get
point.
something sneaky in off your bench right there, especially to see what happens with Champions Cup. So I'll just dot the Chicago players in general that you might want to consider. Well, I'll not be a scrub because I know that we have people who are listening to the show who might want to know what I'm talking about, and so we have Zickernagel, who is one that we look at, and usually Gutierrez. Those are two of the go-tos that we've had. On the slightly cheaper end, we've also talked about Bamba at times, but those have kind of been the three guys who we've tended to look at. Bench play for sure. Let me underline that, bench play for sure. But I want to make sure I mentioned them because we were talking down the Miami defense as well. All right, let's move on to our forwards, and we have Gavin. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, this week I feel like it's very similar to last year, where last year it was Messi, Cucho, and a third forward. And I feel like, at least for me this year, a lot of the times it's been Messi, Benteke, and a third forward, just because
100%.
yeah, Benteke's been so much better with his bonus points, which I love to see. So you don't always have to throw him on your bench. So yeah, this week, as I said, I like Benteke, I like Messi. More budget option. I may be looking at. Maybe I'm looking at too many Minnesota guys this week, but I do like Tani Oluwaseyi from Minnesota. We were chatting about it as well. I keep bringing up the drop a point show, but they made some good points just around Tani and Yeboah. When they play together, it seems that Tani scores a bit more than when it's just Yeboah starting. He gets more fantasy points. So I would just say keep an eye on that when lineups do come out. Maybe that could sort of weigh into the strikers that you look at for those early games. And then I also like Chicho Arango, especially after that great game against DC last week. They're away at LAFC, and yeah, it's just great to see Espinoza, Chicho connecting. We'll see how much Martinez is involved. I feel like this is just his first blow up this season. Maybe he won't even start the next game, so it is Chicho's role. But yeah, I would just keep an eye on those guys. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for forwards this week.
Ashley.
Yeah, I'm also just team Techers. Benteke's only not contributed to a goal in one round so far, and he still got 6 points. That was his ultimate bonus point round. So when he scores, he's generally just scoring, but he is getting bonus points here and there as well. So he's been in my team, I think, almost every week. The only reason he wasn't last round is I had to drop him to bring in bench points. Otherwise he would have been there, and he scored last week too. So Benteke and Messi, I'm interested to see how midweek goes for Miami. I think that definitely could come into play. As we know, that rotation on Sundays can bite us all. So definitely gonna pay attention to that. And then currently, as of Monday, April 7th, I still have Latele. I think at home should be a good look for him against a relatively weaker offensively than defensively, but a relatively weak New England team. I don't know if he's the best third forward. Musa got back on the score sheet. Do I like Musa against Seattle defense? Joveljic just had a brace. He tends to pop repeatedly. Is that someone to look at? Brian White is low-key doing well. It's not necessarily, I think he only has 2 goals in MLS, but they've been playing a million games, and do you know what I mean? And so he's been scoring in CCC as well. I like their matchup, maybe there. I want to consider Denis Bouanga. I think I do every week still, even though I don't take him, but they also are playing, even though it's domestically, and it looks the same, but is not producing the same. So I'm not quite sure if he's gonna make it on my team this round, even though I like against San Jose. I love Denis Bouanga. I will back Denis Bouanga in a derby any day. And San Jose is definitely a lesser derby for them, but it is still a derby. So I'm entertaining it.
I will say, even with it being a derby, I don't know if I want Bouanga because of how Bouanga
I
has
know.
been producing so
I
far
know.
this season. I mean,
Has he scored yet?
I will
I think so.
check.
I'm doing it right
am
now.
skeptical. You can look because I'm skeptical. Who's not scored has been in your
'Cause
board.
I-
If
Yeah.
he's scored, he's scored once.
It's been
You
4s
know,
and
like-
3s. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, I've got it loaded up. No
He-
goals, no assists.
No goals. No
He
goals.
gets
or assists.
some key pass numbers, very few shots too in his last few
Oh.
games. So I don't know. I've seen
it's
Bouanga
bad.
often, and I guess people are leaning into the Derby game.
Mhm.
I don't know. They're flying to
Also,
Miami. They're flying
He's
back.
cheap.
He is cheap.
Yeah.
Right. He is
He
cheap.
is
7.8. But I mean, if you're gonna
Yeah.
look for
No, like I
affordable
said,
midfielders,
I'm just getting nostalgic.
He's
I don't want him
7.8.
to be.
Give me 0.6 more, and you've got Tani Walesi, and so
Yeah.
who's on form against a better matchup, even though it's on the road. So
Listen, in the history of our time here, I've never listed Denis Bouanga last as
That's
a
fair.
possible
This is
forward
growth.
option, and there's a reason he's Mr. 3s and 4s right now, because the whole team is a 3 and 4 team,
they are
right? Like
they are
it's
they are.
Yeah, I
This is
feel like-
growth for you.
This season's been tough breaking those habits. Like, even now that Brooks Lennon is back for Atlanta, I feel like
Yeah.
it's not the same Brooks that we've known,
yeah,
or like any of
Yeah.
those wingers or wing backs we could look at
yeah.
that we used to. So it's just tough breaking those habits. Even Bouanga, just seeing that 7.8 seems a bit weird, as he's always that
Right?
super expensive striker. So yeah,
Golden
it's been
boot,
an
but
interesting
yeah.
season. Yeah.
It has.
Yeah. For me, similar with you guys, Benteke and Messi. I mean, Benteke has just been on the fantastic form. Cincinnati's defense is not what it was. It was better last week. It's always going to be better when we've gotten Nwobodo back and got Robinson back. And Miazga has been practicing, but I don't know when he's set to return just yet. So, but Benteke's in there. Messi is in there, because this is, once again, until CCC is over. It's Messi watch every week. Then after that, I'm juggling Tani and Latte Lath just to see where it comes in there. Otherwise, you guys have hit on all the ones that I think are worth talking about. I mean, the LAFC is a giant question mark, but I think it's still worth talking about. San Jose's got a couple of good attack options right there. You mentioned Musa, Ashley. I mean, we can talk about, I know I've seen some people who have mentioned Columbus as well with Rossi, and I don't know. I mean, St. Louis is in a bit of a bump right now. Their defense has been okay though in general. Sorry, scratch that. I was thinking of something completely different. They are the worst home defense in the league. I don't know where that was coming from, but I'm gonna go check and see how many home games they've even played right now. So St. Louis has played, let's see here. That's San Jose. That is wrong. St. Louis has played 3 home games, and they've given up, let's see here, home games allowed, 1 goal. Okay, no, there we go. So I thought they were a little bit better. So they've given up 1 goal in 3 home games. So I was looking at the wrong numbers. So back to what I was saying, because I thought it was right, then I second guessed myself. I think they've got an okay home defense, and I just don't know. Columbus has not that lost, but they just don't have the same bite. They've sold their DPs, and now they just don't have that bite anymore. So I'm not sure if I like Rossi really in that mix with the other players that we've already talked about. And I need to do to myself, rerun those numbers. Otherwise, I think you guys have covered the forwards. It's a good option. I mean, we've got some great matchups, I think, for forwards and midfielders this week to have some really good points. Let's wrap everything up with talking about our captain picks. So as usual, Ashley, who's your captain and who's your Messi backup captain?
Messi is my captain. Why don't they get that on a shirt? Can we make that for merch?
We could try.
Just Messi is my captain. There's got to be some sort of copyright. Messi is my captain. If not Messi, for me, is a great question this week. I don't think that there's a chalk option personally. I don't think that, there's a couple. I think that even with the round he just had, I think I'd go Ojeda. I think I'd trust the production he has most consistently, not the production he had most recently. I also think Benteke is a goal scorer. He scored in all games but 2, and he assisted in one of those. So, I mean, I think that's a safe goal scoring bet. Honestly, if we hear that Messi might not play or something happens, I also might go crazy and just cap a defender, because my captain picks have been wildly all over the place when they've not been Messi this season, to very mediocre production. And so why not cap Ali Ahmed? I'm, backing him verbally. I might as well back him all in. I won't do that. I haven't capped a
Bold.
defender.
Bold
The
move,
only
Ashley.
defender I've ever capped is Kai Wagner or Brooks Lennon. I'm not going to do that. For me, it would probably be Ojeda, followed closely, tinkeringly by Benteke.
Gavin.
Yeah, as Ashley said, Messi. If not Messi, so it is very hard for me. I don't know why to ever captain a forward. I think I've just been burned too
Welcome
many
to the club.
times.
Yeah,
We get
we all
it.
do.
We get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a
so-
safe space for that.
It'll be, maybe I'll give it a couple seasons when I can start, venturing out. But yeah, I do like McGlynn this week for a captain. I
Yes.
think that's a fun shout for
calm
a
down,
captain
Reid.
pick.
Nope.
Because I mean, just looking at his points, we've got 13,
Yeah.
10, 9 as the last games, and he's just looked great. And this Galaxy squad is someone that I'm looking at those players playing against the Galaxy basically, and I love
Mhm.
this matchup. As a Philly fan, I love McGlynn, even though he's playing over in Houston. It's awesome to see him
Yeah.
finally performing in the fantasy side of things, because he wouldn't when he was in Philly. So
Yeah.
this is really fun to see. Yeah,
Well,
so I
they
mean,
play him different in his defense,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So this is fun to see. So yeah, if it's looking like he's not going to start, I may look to Captain Jack this week. So
Ooh,
Oh,
Captain Jack.
I like that.
We like that one. Yeah, we like that. No,
Yeah.
I'm in the same point. When I saw Gavin put that in the notes, I was like, yeah, that's exactly where my mind was. It's Messi, and if not Messi, it's McGlynn. Which I know kind of doesn't work with the whole Saturday Sunday thing, but
It does not.
I mean, that's who I would be tempted by, because, like Gavin said, his bonus points are just phenomenally consistent so far as well for these last
Mhm.
several games, and it's against LA Galaxy, who has not been strong, who is coming off a poor performance, and has an international CCC game midweek. So that's things I all think go into McGlynn's favor, and I think make for him a strong captain contender in general for this round. If we
And
look at chat.
he can rip a long shot too. And you saw what happened when Muriel shot against McCarthy, and he let it
Mhm.
bobble in. So some good chances there for Jack to do some rips.
Yeah, see in chat they say that he doesn't shoot enough for him to be a captain in chat. Like, I get that. I mean, I get what you're saying, because you really are
Yeah.
hoping that your captain's going to get some of those
That's fair.
juicy attacking points right there as well. But I mean, he got an assist. He's gotten a goal or an assist in 3 of his last 4 games. Not 4 because he was gone for the Seattle game, but he's gotten 2 assists and a goal over the last 3 games that he has played. Has gotten double-digit key pass points right there. Flirts with getting at least 1 point in crosses for bonus points right there. And so, I mean, he's getting bonus points, but getting an assist action really does help right there, which against LA can see it being a possibility, but he's the backup captain, and we'll see. Ashley will bring you the YouTube short this week with captain picks, and we'll see where we end up at the end of the week. All right, well, thank you all very much for joining us tonight. It's been so fun going through this early preview. Let's wrap up everything as we do always with our plugs. Gavin.
Yeah, thanks, Reid. So it's been a lot of fun chatting with you guys. For anyone watching that doesn't currently follow my content, I'm on all the social medias. So if you like YouTube, I'm there. I also share my short form content on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, just chatting fantasy with some other folks. So yeah, feel free to give me a follow, and happy to chat some fantasy.
Ashley.
Yeah, just continue. It scared me. Was that my own?
Sorry,
voice?
I'm looking up Gavin on TikTok to follow him.
No, you're fine. I just was like, wow, I sound different. As always, just a shout out to the Discord community. I appreciate how collaborative and communicative and just generally great that community has continued to grow to be. I pop in and out because I feel like lately I get in my head in Discord, but that's just a me problem. No one else should have that problem. We should definitely check it out.
And of course, for me, you can go over to MLSFantasyBoss.com and check out all the great content that we have coming out this season with all of the articles that we have, with just the great insights from our insiders. Had a little flub last week, misattributed an author of an article. Our good friend Kenobi is the one who authored the Fantasy Clinic article last week, so apologies for that, but Ron did get that fixed on the social to make sure that was appropriately credited. But they've got a great article right there, our little fantasy physicians who are going at you with the clinic. We have all sorts of great content there, so be sure to check out MLSFantasyBoss.com, and as Ashley said, the Discord. It's just such a great community to be a part of, and has just been such the focus of, for me, what this fantasy project has all become. So check out the Discord, check out the website, check out Gavin's stuff, and as always, good luck.